So we saw how we're able to listen for some of the various events that occur within Liferay. Now let's take a look at how we can listen to even more Liferay events by using a tool in Liferay called Model Listeners. So Model Listeners allows us to do as the name implies. It allows us to listen to specific model entities. So we can listen for what's going on to a specific model. Is it being updated, deleted, and so on. So the way that we create a model listeners, just like everything else, we'll create an OSGI component, and we're either going to implement the model listener interface or extend the base model listener superclass. Most of the time we're going to work with the superclass. And model listeners also work with Surface Builder created entities. So our assignments, our submissions, we can also listen for those as well. So what things can we listen for? This list is pretty extensive. So long story short, whenever something is created, whenever something is deleted, and whenever something is either associated or disassociated with something are the three big ones. As well as something that can be updated. So the idea here is before or after one of those actions occur, we can execute some code, whatever it is that we may want to do. Okay, so a couple different use cases here. One of the big ones is more so for auditing or for some sort of notification. So when a user is associated with a site, maybe we want that user to know so they can receive an email or a notification. Or maybe as we're deleting something behind the scenes, we want to clear the cache so that way, we're not having old data stuck in the cache, for example. So in this example of a model listener, what we're seeing here is we are extending base model listener, and the specific event that we're listening for is after a user is associated with something, or after something is being associated with something else. We're going to go down a little bit and see we're dealing with the user, and we're going to try to get the user based off of their user ID. Now in this specific case, we're going to assume that the user is being assigned to a role. Once they're assigned to the role, we're going to send an email to that user letting them know just that you have been assigned to this specific role, or user so-and-so was added to role this. So a couple of tips and tricks here. Model listeners are going to be called before the whole database transaction is complete. So for example, if our user is being persisted to the database, our model listener is going to be called before the whole database transaction, that user being added, is finished. Right? So another good tip here is with our model listener, we don't have control over which listener is invoked when. It's kind of a wild card. So creating a model listener in Liferay Developer Studio, we will start off by creating a Liferay module project using the API template. From there, we'll then create a component using Liferay's component class wizard. We'll then extend the base model listener and implement the method that we want to implement that corresponds with the specific action. So let's go ahead and take a look at an exercise of creating a model listener that listens to our user. So when the user gets updated, we're going to receive an email or a notification of that specific action. So following the same steps that we just talked about, create a module project using API template, create the model listener component. We're going to implement the method on after update, and then we're going to deploy and test it out. So let's go ahead and head over to Liferay Developer Studio and take a look at this.